So guys, the first thing you want to do is to get yourself a plain sheet of paper. I've got loads of pattern cutting paper, so I hope you could find one for yourself. And the next thing you want to do is to take the measurement of your bust and the measurement of your waist as well. Then just underneath your bust as well, you need to take the measurement. So guys, when you have your bust measurement, you need to divide it by 2. So mine is 32 inches divided by 2. I have 16 inches. So 16 inches will cover my front panel and 16 inches for the other back panel. So you need to divide your 16 inches for the front panel by 3, and you'll be left with 5.3 inches. So each panel, because you're going to have 3 panels in order to create the bustier look for the top bit, so you're going to divide that by 3 and you have 5.3. so each panel is going to be about 5.3 inches for about the bust size. So I'll show you what next to do. The next step will be to grab your pattern paper. I'm using a very small pattern paper, but if you want to do this, I would recommend you use large pattern paper to do this. So the first step will be to place your tape measure right about here or just anywhere in the middle, and you want to measure from the top to about 5 inches. Then you make a dot, right? Once you make that dot, next thing you want to do is place your tape from the 5 inches point, just from that 5 inches point. Because my waist is, if you remember, my bust is 5.3 inches per panel, so this is the middle panel I'm trying to create for the top. What you want to do is add your seam allowance. So I'm going to make mine from here to about here 7 inches instead of 5.3 inches. Then that way I would have enough room to work with my seam allowance. So that's what I have here. I've got 7 inches there. Now the next thing you'd want to do is just slightly above the 5 inches, go half an inch above the 5 inches, just like half an inch just above it, make a dot. Then what you want to do is kind of create a slight slanted curve. I've traced it out, I did this earlier, but I'm trying to join it now. So just create a slant basically and trace it all the way down. Trace this all the way down. And there you go, you've got your first bit, right? You need to measure the length of the panel. So mine is going to be about 10 inches, and that 10 inches will cover seam allowance for the bottom part and seam allowance for the top part, so it's going to be 10 inches. So I'm going to draw a straight line from here all the way there to the end. So that's what I'm going to do, or better still, I'm going to take my scissors, my paper cutting scissors. So you want to take your paper cutting scissors and just cut it all out. So I've done that already. Then you're going to fold this paper, fold it this way into 2 equal halves. But before you do fold it, transfer this cut here, this point, to the back, so that when you fold it, you have it there, because you're going to cut a straight line across it. So I'm going to do that and show you what I've done. So you just draw a straight line on it, and middle panel all ready to go. Now this is what you should have. So this is what I created earlier to make the blouse I posted before on Facebook and various groups I belong to. So this is just exactly similar to this. The only difference is this is a size 12 and this is a size 8. So these are the 3 sizes I've created so far. That bit there is a size 16. The middle bit is a size 12, size 8 I just created now, and this is a size 12, and all these are for the middle panels. So the next step is going to be to create the other two panels, which is this one. So we're going to do that now. Hi guys, so the next step would be to create the other two panels, but before we go on to that step, I'm going to run you through what I've done on this pattern. So what I've done is I've traced out half an inch, about half an inch on yeah, there you go, that's about half an inch for my seam allowance on both sides and on the bottom bit as well as the top bit. So once you've done that, you would have approximately 4.5 based on the measurement I've used, 4.5 from here to about here. Now that takes me back to the waist calculation. So the waist I have, the measurement of the waist I have is 27 inches. So what you're going to do is divide 27 inches by 2. It's going to give you 13.5 inches. Now you have to divide 13.5 inches by 3. And once you divide that by 3, you have 4.5 inches. Hence, that's why you have this bit has 4.5 inches from here to about here. So now, the next step would be to grab your other piece of pattern paper. Draw a straight line. You need to draw the straight line like I've done. I've drawn a straight line from here to about there. Then you're going to measure 4.5 inches from the top. There you go. Sorry about that. So that's because I'm holding my phone. I'm really sorry. So measuring 4.5 inches there you go, that's 4.5 inches. You make a cross. The next thing you want to do, remember our waist, our bust measurement is 5.3, so you need to measure 5.3 inches. And remember what I did for this other bit, I made it 7 inches in order to add for my seam allowance. So you're going to do the same thing, measure 7 inches instead of 5.3. So 7 inches is there, that's 7 inches. Make your point again. Then from the top to the bottom you need to measure 10 inches, which is going to be the length of it. So that's 10 inches from there to here, that's 10 inches. Now the next thing you want to do is to take your tape and measure 2 inches from this line to this bit here. That's what you do, you measure 2 inches. Then on this bit you measure 2.9 inches or 3 inches, but mine is 2.9 inches. So you put your dot here. Then we're going to connect these lines. I'm going to use dotted lines to connect it, then I'm going to show you how it is, because I can't do that and hold my phone at the same time. So I've connected the dots, but I'm going to run you through it again. So what I've done is, like I said, what you need to do first of all is get your plain sheet of paper, your pattern cotton paper. Then you draw a straight line, this line, draw a straight line. Now use your tape, or better still, if you have a ruler, use a ruler. I don't have a ruler, so I'm using my tape. So take your tape, and if you're going to start from the top, fine. If you're not going to start from wherever you're going to start from, just make sure you continue from there. So place your, I went a little bit below the line or the end of my paper, so place, no. So once you place your tape here, you should have from the top bit though to this point is 4.5 like you did in the initial stage. But if I take it down, that would be about 4 inches. So I've left about half an inch here in order to cover for this slant. So basically leave half an inch on top. But remember, when you start, make sure your point is at 4.5 inches from the top to about, this is about the tip of your bust, where the tip of your bust is going to be by the time you're done sewing, putting the whole panels together when you cut your pattern and stitched up. So basically, like I said again, place your tape make a point at 4.5, then make a point of at half an inch at this point here. Then from the half an inch, measure 2 inches. I'm going to use my right hand. So you need to measure 2 inches, and that's 2 inches there. Sorry about that. 2 inches. Then from this point all the way down, you measure 2.9 inches, which I've done. Make a dot as well. Also, from the point at 2.9 inches to about 4 inches, you need to make a dot at this point. It's quite complicated, but really simple. So you make a dot there. Then from the 4 inches, make a dot for 1 inch. This is just an inch. This is just going to give it the depression, a little bit of curve, basically. Then from the bottom bit, from this 4 inch to the bottom bit, where we have our 10 inches, is about 3.5 inches. So I'm gonna write that 3.5 inches. There you go. And there is 4 inches. There you go. So from the 3.5 inches to the bottom bit of your blouse, you need to measure 6 inches and make a dot. Now you connect from that dot there all the way to this middle dot and all the way down, and this bit is done. Then for this bit, remember you've measured from this point initially, so from that point to this point is 10 inches, so you need to make sure you keep it at 10 inches. So that's 10 inches. Then from this straight line you've drawn, you need to measure 9 inches to this bit here, and you put your dot there for 9 inches. So now you need to connect this bit to this point. Just create like a triangle, basically. Create a triangle and connect it there. At that bit you're done. Then connect this point here all the way to that point, and you have your second panel. Using this panel, you can cut two pieces. You need to cut 2 pieces for this. Let me put the size down, size 8. So once you're done and you have this bit, just take your paper cutter scissors and cut it all up, and you're ready to start stitching. So just like I added all the seam patterns on my or seam lines on my pattern for the middle panel, I've done the same for the 2 side panels. So as you can see, it's 4.5. So at the end of the day, once I'm done stitching this bit, the 3 panels together, my waist for the front bit should be approximately 13.5 inches. Then when I do for the back, it should be 13.5, and that adds up to 27 inches for the front and the back. So I'm done with the front big panel. The next pattern I'm going to cut out would be for the back bit. So guys, the next step will be to make the back piece for the tube peplum top. So what I've done now is I've done my calculation. So remember, when we did the front bit, we divided the bust measurement by 2, which gave us 16. So what I've done now is taken the 16 and divided the 16 by 2, and that gives me 8 inches. So you should add 1 inch for your seam allowance, and you should have 9 inches. So you're going to grab your pattern cutting paper. This, I have mine here. Fold it into 2. This is what I have. Folded it into 2. Then you're going to measure 9 inches. Right? So make a dot there and make a dot there. That's 9 inches. So the length of your back is going to be about 7.5 inches. So you add an extra inch for seam allowance. So you're gonna have 8.5 inches. You have to make that dot there. You know, for the front bit we did earlier, the front bit's about 10 inches, and that's because of the bust. But the back, you obviously don't have your bust at the back, so that gives you an extra, makes it a lot shorter. That's why it's a lot shorter. So once you've made that dot there, the next step will be to cut off, to draw down this section. You're going to use a ruler and draw a straight line down, and draw a straight line down. Then you're going to cut all the way from here, but I'm going to freestyle it, and that should be fine. So I'm going to take there. I'm going to do this bit as well. That's it. So I'm going to take my scissors and cut this out. Done cutting. This is what you should have. I just wanted to explain something here. If you like your zip at the back, in the middle of your blouse at the back, then this section here is going to add up for your seam allowance. Put the zipper, but I'm going to have a zip by the side of this blouse, so I really don't need this. So what I'm going to do is just going to fold this and tape it, and that gives me my true measurement. Next thing I'm going to do is to add my dotted lines to guide me for my seam allowance, and I'll show you what next to do. So I've gone ahead to add my dotted lines, and this is my my back piece done. As you can see, from the seam allowance to the other seam allowance, it's 16 inches, and that gives me the exact size I need for my back. Then, if you remember, the waist for the blouse I'm going to make is, the waist is 27 inches, divided by 2 is 13.5. So the next thing I want to do is add my darts. I'm going to have darts at the back. So in order to have 13.5, I've got 16 here. So 16. I'm going to add about 2.5 inches. So 1.25 inches is going to be the size of my dart. So I'm going to put my darts in place, and I'll be ready to start cutting my fabric. I've inserted my dart and I've pinned it up just to illustrate a point. Basically, I've placed my tape at one end to the other end. As you can see, it gives me 13.5 inches, which is what I want to have for my waist. From this measurement, it's 13.5 inches for the back waist and 13.5 inches for the front waist. So I have that in place. I'm going to take out my pins, then I'm going to get ready to cut my fabrics, my pieces rather. So before I go ahead cutting my pieces, I'm just going to show you the last pattern we need. So I already have a pre-cut quarter circle for my peplum bottom. If you want to know how to cut peplum bottoms, there are so many videos out there on how to cut peplum bottoms. I'm going to recommend you watch Misha's video, and hopefully you should get it. If you still don't understand how to cut a peplum bottom, you can always send me a message in my inbox, and I'll try and make a video for you or something. Don't know, but I'm sure you'll find one.